Assalamu alaikum everyone. We have with us Sadaf Khalid Khan, CEO, Walnut Travel Tours and Consultancy Pakistan and UK, Global Ambassador Tourism, Commonwealth Entrepreneurs Club, UK and Pakistan. Sadaf, over to you.
Thank you. I'm Sadaf Khalid, and at the moment, I'm in Glasgow attending the COP26 Climate Summit. I'm privileged to represent Walnut Travel and Tours and Consultancy here. We are focusing our efforts to promoting tourism in Pakistan with the global tourism networks and highlighting B2B investment opportunities with the global tourism. We are promoting responsible tourism, ecotourism, green travel, and introducing the concept of eco-tourist lodges in Pakistan for the first time. I'm proud to share the efforts to promote tourism with international networks which align with the vision of our Prime Minister Imran Khan for ecotourism in Pakistan for the first time. I would like to thank the opportunity to Humayun, Azzah, founders of CFO Club Pakistan, Shehzad, and Dr. Rizwan, and last but not the least, our celebrity star Salman Ahmad for all our time favorite Junoon for this initiative and the time today to talk about leaders' mindset. I feel very proud and privileged to support you all. Thank you so much. So, Walnut Travel and Tours and I have been promoting Pakistan globally for the last 10-15 years. Tourism is a priority of our Pakistan government and our Prime Minister Imran Khan. I'm here currently in UK, and also I attended the WTM World Tourism Mart in London. Our focus is to restart the tourism after the pandemic with the global countries, and especially climate, ecotourism, friendly climate is also the priority of our government. We are looking forward for partnership with international organizations to start the concept of green travel and especially eco-tourist lodges in the north of Pakistan. I think it's high time that we all should join hands together for international collaborations, especially with countries like Norway, Sweden, which are top ranking on ecotourism and sustainable tourism. The role of our cultural diplomacy and high commissions will play a very important role in bringing the bridge between the Pakistan tourism experts and international experts. And that is what we are looking for. Because the revenue from the tourism side from Pakistan will improve next year after the vaccination rate is done from all over the countries and in Pakistan as well. We also opened e-visa to 65 countries for business visa. This will encourage the investors coming into Pakistan from Central Asia, Middle East, European countries, Australia, and other countries as well. The Business Council's roles will also play a very important role, and our trade and cultural dress should also play an important role in exchange dialogue for tourism promotion with different countries. That is what my focus is, building partnership for Pakistan. Right now, I'm in Glasgow and also working hard for collaborations for experts on ecotourism, green travel, and sustainable tourism. So I'm looking forward to come back and work and on the projects that I discussed. And I think that climate change is alarming, and we have seen it. The inbound tourism, the domestic tourism flow for the northern parts of Pakistan, how they're damaging our environment and the natural landscapes. So it's a circular economy approach required to protect our national environments in the beautiful surroundings of Pakistan. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. We have with us Dr. Salman, a very famous personality, currently working as a SCORE Foundation's Communication and Advocacy Ambassador for South Asia. Ahmed earlier served as United Nations Global Ambassador for HIV and AIDS, currently for polio as well as for COVID-19. He's actively working for that. As a Goodwill Ambassador for Rotary International, Ahmed also contributed to eradication of polio in Pakistan in particular. In 2008, Ahmed and his wife, Dr. Samina, launched the Samina and Salman and Samina Global Wellness Initiative with a concert at UNGA. It is a non-profit organization whose primary focus is fostering harmony internationally by promoting wellness and music. Hello, Salman, and welcome to this platform.
Thank you, Azzah. Thank you for inviting me today for this important talk. And I want to thank your team as well, the entire team.
Okay, Salman, so we have a few questions for you. And I'm going to immediately start with our question because we've got a lot of things in pipeline for you today. It is going to be an interesting discussion. So my first question for you is, we copy the people we trust. Tell us about authenticity in leaders.
Authenticity in a leader comes basically over a period of a long observation. So, for example, like let's say if there's a cricketer, you won't find out about his leadership skills or talent in the matter of 2 or 3 games. You would have to look at that leader, at that player over a period of, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and if he's lucky, over 20 years before you, before you make a judgment on someone's leadership skills. You have to see them through their ups and downs, through their challenges, and what their temperament is like when they are down. What do they do? So authenticity, really, you can glean authenticity out of that by seeing through the roller coaster ride of a person's career. I'm giving you an example of a cricketer. You could do the same thing for somebody who's a business leader, right? If you're leading a business, let's say Apple, or Amazon, 2 or 3 good years doesn't make you a great leader. It's really over a period of time how you deal with life's, the toil, the trial, the challenges, and obviously your personal, there's a public side to you, and then there's a personal side to you. And people who consider, leadership, they see that how a person's temperament is also, how do they deal with their team? Because it's, a leadership is not a dictatorship. Leadership is being part of the team and keeping your own performance up, but also making sure that people who are around you, your team, they are also productive and contributing positively. So authenticity, it's a very powerful word. Now for my field, which has been music for a lot of time, right? I can tell you over 30 years, I started, in a band called Vital Signs. Our first song was Dil Dil Pakistan. So we got a good break with the first song that we did, the first album we did, right? But then over a period of 30 years, I seen huge challenges, roller coaster rides. Sometimes, because music and entertainment is a field which is very unpredictable. You're as good as your last successful song or your last successful album, right? So what happens is that there's sometimes a temptation to follow the trend of the world, okay? Because people say, okay, this is the fashion today, maybe Bollywood is the fashion today, maybe Hollywood is the fashion today, maybe, techno, rap. So that's where a leader is tested, that do they stick to their vision or they go with the flow, they go with the flow of the world. So in my personal case, with my music and my films, I've stuck to my own internal compass. Paulo Coelho wrote this book called The Alchemist. And it's a very, thin book, but it's a great, very deep book as well. He says in it, that when you follow your heart, the entire universe conspires to make you succeed, right? So when he's talking about the heart, how many of us actually listen to the whisper of our heart? Allama Iqbal, the great poet, of the East, he said, "Dil se jo baat nikalti hai, asar rakhti hai, par nahi taaqat-e parwaaz magar rakhti hai." That whisper in your heart has strength. It may not have wings, but it has the power to fly. Now, Paulo Coelho, from a Western perspective, Allama Iqbal from an Eastern perspective, they're both talking about listening to your heart rather than following trends, right? So a leader will, a great leader will always listen to his heart. He'll obviously take in data, see what's successful in the world. He'll take all of that in, but eventually the decisions he makes and what he creates out of those decisions is what his heart is telling him or her. The 17th century Sufi poet Baba Bulle Shah, he said it very simply. He said, "Bulla ki jano main kaun?" Who am I? Who am I? What is my purpose? So constantly over a period of a career, let's say, or a lifetime, every one of us, we are not exempt from trials and tribulations. We are going to be tested in our businesses, in our careers as athletes or filmmakers or artists, actors. There is no sort of, flat line. It's always a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster. How do you navigate the roller coaster, right? And what are the tools you use to navigate the roller coaster determines your success and also your authenticity.
Thank you. I think that was a very deep answer. That brings us to the next question, and that is, leaders create leaders. Leaders define success for other people. Leader is somebody who not only looks for his success, but looks for success of bigger masses, people along with him. So tell us, what are 3 top essential elements in developing new leaders with growth mindset?
That's a great question, Azzah. Well, you must have heard of the saying that great people are those who make others feel that they too can become great. So if a great leader will groom leaders from his team or anyone he comes across. They are mentors. Great leaders are also mentors. So they don't hold on to the information of their success. They don't hold on to the keys to their success, in a jealous or niggardly way. For example, in music, okay, the greatest musicians, right, who whether they were classical musicians or like the Beatles, for example, they analyzed their success and they also inspired a generation of artists by telling them what was the key to their great songwriting, how they came up with melodies, how they came up with poetry, what were the technological challenges they faced. They didn't hold on to them. Like, some people, they feel that, if I let out the secret, somebody else will go ahead of me. So great leaders, they're not insecure. They're absolutely not insecure about ceding the way to somebody else. They know that by widening the field, by encouraging other people to become leaders, they are actually, it's what's the word am I looking for? It's a force multiplier. It's a force multiplier. It's better to have a team of people who are leaders as opposed to just one person, because one person, whether it's a country, whether it's a rock band, whether it's a business, one person cannot, scale up as powerfully as a team of people, who are leaders. So I think your question was that how do leaders produce more leaders. They stay on top of everybody's work, and they are also great mentors.
Okay, thank you so much. So if I say a leader has to, it's not important for a leader to win all the battles. He can win and lose some battles and have a one winning war. If I say a team watches the feet of leaders, not the lips, can you share some experiences and observations out of your friendship with Prime Minister Imran Khan in particular, and how your documentary captures those aspects?
So, great question. I've, as I talk about in the film, Spiritual Democracy, the episode 1, Journey of Self-Discovery, what I was trying to isolate in Prime Minister Imran Khan's life was what motivated him to become a high achiever. So in his life, the first, let's say the initial 20 years of his professional life was as an athlete, right? So he begins at the age of 18 very unsuccessfully, right? He's a failure in some people's eyes. If you were just to focus on that period of 18 to 23, he's a failure. He hasn't done anything of great note. But what was actually happening in his life in those earlier 5 years of his career was that he was learning from his failures, right? And that continues, that pattern of failure and learning, failure and learning, failure and learning, eventually taught him how to become, one of the greatest all-rounders the world has ever seen, right? One of the greatest fast bowlers the world has ever seen, one of the greatest, captain batsmen that the world has ever seen. And finally, in his last game, which was, after 21 years, 21 years in cricket, which is a long period of time, he won the World Cup for the country. So in that journey, what I found was that failure is a very important component of success. You can't get to success without experiencing failure. Then I saw that recurring pattern in his life as a philanthropist when he was trying to raise funds for the Shaukat Khan Memorial Hospital. It was a huge challenge, he didn't want to make it easy for himself by just building a small hospital. No, he wanted to build a cancer hospital and also make sure that 75% of the poor people would get free treatment from that. So it was a higher vision than the cricket actually. One would have thought that being an athlete, winning the World Cup, 21 years would be enough. But no, he set his sights higher. And then he achieved that with the hospital. Then he also now changes course completely, athlete, philanthropist, and then an activist and a politician to change the political landscape of a country. Now, one would say, okay, you're taking on too much, right? Some people would say, okay, and some people did say that you have no experience in politics. It is a very slippery slope in Pakistan, and apni izzat bachaye, you've done well as a athlete and as a philanthropist. Don't go into this field. But no, he did. Why? Dil se jo baat nikalti hai, asar rakhti hai, par nahi taaqat-e parwaaz mein rakhti hai. See, if your heart is taking you to some place, you have to follow your heart. You don't care about log kya kahenge. You don't care about ki ji main zaleel na ho jaun. Ye dar hai na, main gareeb na ho jaun, main मेरी जान को खतरा ना हो जाए. True leaders, they are fearless. So fearless to face failure, fearless to keep aiming high, So in this episode 1 of Journey of Self-Discovery, when you see it, I show the failures, clearly. I also show the people who criticized him when he was, talking about spirituality, thinking thinking about social service for people. There are people thinking, this is a fad, it's a fashion. But over a period of time, now he's 69 years old, and people can make the judgment, what is authenticity in a leader and what is not, right? But the first episode that I've made thus far gives young people the key, which is don't ever lose hope, because hope is a game changer. We all feel, when we're down, it feels like, you want to give up. But if you have a mindset which never will contemplate giving up, it's a force multiplier. You will have an edge over the competition, no matter what you're doing.
True indeed. And there I'd like to add a little bit. I recently heard Jim Carrey speaking at a convention, and he was saying that hope is coward, so have faith. And faith is very important. And I think when you come to spirituality, I think it's your faith, that belief that I can do and I can bring a change. And it doesn't matter how many people are standing with you. And I think that's a true quality of a leader and a spiritual leader. And I think that message is being projected very well in the documentary, I must say. And that brings us to the next question, which is that executive boards have started to view human capital as strategic assets, and it is increasingly source of comparative advantage. Now I'm moving towards a little bit in general how people should look into the leadership part, and looking at Imran and you and your experience, how in today's world strategy is easy to replicate and capital is easy to access. What gives you competitive advantage in your talent and culture? Firstly. Secondly, leaders' understanding of culture and talent is reflected if she knows people lower to them, 2-3 levels lower to them. That's when she meets them, how they meet them, and where the real action is happening at the lower levels. So what is the take of a leader and the organizational culture in impacting those people, and as a role model or a mentor, helping them grow or impacting their lives in particular?
So let me give you 3 tangible examples, right? One example I'll give you from my college days. I'm an overseas Pakistani. I grew up mostly where I am in the West, in New York, right? And because my mother and my father both wanted me to become a doctor, right? I trained as a doctor at King Edward Medical College, right? And when I was in first year at that time, Junaid Jamshed, my dear friend, he was studying at Engineering University. Now, these are the careers that South Asian families want their children to have, because, medicine is a noble career, engineering is respectable. But we were also looking at society around us as young, youthful Pakistanis, in the early 20s. And we saw that Pakistani youth was either, focused towards the West, Hollywood, right? Or towards Bollywood. The films, the music, the poetry, everything was imported from outside, right? And the feeling was that our own local culture is not really important enough. It's not, it's not of a high standard to really follow. So we just decided, it's like, why should we follow somebody else, right? Why don't we say what we feel in our heart? And Dil Dil Pakistan came out of that, okay? Aisi zameen aur asman, inke siwa jana kahan, badti rahe ye roshni, chalta rahe ye karwan, Dil Dil Pakistan, Jaan Jaan Pakistan. Now, it was just a sort of a feeling, It was just an intuition. So that intuition turned into, vital signs. That intuition turned into Junoon, right? And although, I graduated from medical college, but medicine and music have been two, pathways for me, I didn't waste either of them because, I do, as a Goodwill ambassador, worked on HIV, AIDS, polio, now COVID-19, right? And with music, helped sort of, I guess, sculpt a modern Pakistani cultural identity, through the music of Vital Signs and Junoon, now, if you, for example, right now the T20 World Cup is happening, right? So whenever Pakistan is playing, on the DJ is playing, Jazba Junoon, Dil Dil Pakistan, Sayoni. So we have these anthems that thousands and millions of people can sing along to while they're watching their cricket, for example. Okay? So you're adding to the cultural potential of a nation. Okay. Now, I never saw that as, okay, what will people be doing 30 years later? But when you do something from the heart, it becomes timeless and ageless, right? Now, I'll give you now two recent examples. Most of the Pakistan cricket team, since 2009, no foreign team comes to Pakistan. International teams were afraid to come to Pakistan. Recently, New Zealand, backed out. England didn't show up. We don't know if Australia is going to come. So these young players were, kind of isolated, almost like, separated from the world community, but they didn't give up. So at this moment, Babar Azam is a young 20-something captain, right? But he has galvanized his team in such a way that they are competing with the highest level of international teams. And right now they're in the semifinals. They've qualified for the semifinals. And a lot of people in the world are saying that they might, become the world champions. So my question is, well, how did this happen? How is it possible that other countries like India, like England, like Australia, they have all the money, they have the IPLs and they have, they spend millions and millions of dollars on their cricket and their cricket infrastructure. How is it possible that Pakistan, with its limitations, right, is able to field a team which, if the world is saying, is the most exciting team in the world, right? It's our DNA. It's the Pakistani DNA. We always try to, in boxing language, we're fighting above our weight. We're punching above our weight, always. It's the Pakistani way, Overseas Pakistanis also, when you see them here in America or Europe or anywhere else, they also come here with nothing. And then they work extremely hard and they have the can-do attitude, and they achieve great heights, Thirdly, the third example I want to give you, is this pandemic, which has come after 100 years. It has decimated global economies, right? $7 trillion have been, decimated by the pandemic. Yet, how is it possible that over 4 waves of this pandemic, COVID-19, Pakistan has been able to, save lives and livelihoods? It's able to do 3.9% growth economy, where other countries, much stronger countries like India, have gone into minus, they've gone into red. And if you look at the money that we have to spend on our health infrastructure and the money that first world countries have, there's no comparison. But today there's in one of the newspapers in Dawn, the WHO, the WHO representative in Pakistan has congratulated Pakistan on successfully controlling COVID-19. So this is all leadership at various levels. Obviously, you have a head of state Then you have somebody, the NCOC is a team, right? Then you have the federal government, the provincial government, the private sector, all working towards a singular goal. So that's how leaders lead. Nobody can, like in a hockey example, just take the ball singularly and score a goal. You need a team to pass the ball to you, to pass the ball to another team member. And that's all leadership. That's all strategy.
True, that is. I agree with you on that. And thank you so much. That brings me to my next question, which will be my last question before we move to a rapid fire round for you that we have organized here. So just a quick one. We say that leaders create leaders. Leaders define the success of business and people around them. And you yourself have lived in the US for very long, and you know that a lot of new tech companies, new age tech companies like Microsoft, Google, and for that matter, even PepsiCo has these CEOs which are Asian, basically, and they're second generation, or they have been there for a while. Do you see those kinds of opportunities for youngsters in Pakistan and the young youth who's striving and who's trying and dreaming to be somewhere? What is the message for them? What do you see for them? And what are the examples that you can give for them to be true leaders and be passionate about what they're doing?
That's a great question. And, I'll begin with overseas Pakistanis, for example, who come with maybe $30 in their pocket, and then over a period of 20 to 30 years, they're CEOs, they're running multi-million, billion-dollar businesses. And how is it possible? Well, I think that we are used to be problem solvers. Pakistanis, because we, the infrastructures, various infrastructures in Pakistan are very flimsy, right? So Pakistanis have a sixth sense to work around weak infrastructures, to get things done, like in the West, people will, by and large, value time, appear at meetings on time. There'll be a team of people who've been given a goal or an objective, and they'll work as a team. But Pakistan, it's all over the place, and you're forced to think out of the box. I think that's the strength that Pakistanis have. And when they come abroad and when they have an infrastructure to work within, right, they climb very, very quickly. Now, your question was, can young Pakistanis do that within Pakistan?
And
so
how?
I would, and how? So I would say, we have to look at, islands of excellence. It's crucial to see what is working and analyze that. And because this is, the T20 World Cup is happening at the moment, I would say, look at this Pakistan cricket team. What have they done? Well, they have these players, most of them are in their 20s. You have some experienced players like Shoaib Malik and Hafiz, who have played for a long time, right? But by and large, you have a balanced, young, youthful team. They have enthusiasm, right? That is the key. Yeah. Without enthusiasm, nothing great can be achieved, right? Number one, you need enthusiasm, right? Then you need talent and skills. So they have been honing their talent and skill in Pakistan, and singular focus to success, singular focus. Then you have also if you look at Haris Rauf or Muhammad Rizwan or some of the other players, their parents encourage them, So parents, coaches, mentors, these are crucial. I mean, in your teenage years, you need somebody to discover that you have a passion for something, right? And they support you. You have a support team, which is parents, coaches, mentors, who say, they'll support you. Once you have your parents' support or your mentor support or your coach's support, you will go the extra mile. Then finally, you have to have the humility to learn from your mistakes. A lot of people, they panic when they start failing, and they aren't able to analyze their mistakes. So if you can put these things together, which is, a passion, enthusiasm, your parents, mentors, coaches, your humility to learn from your own mistakes, then on merit, you'll see you're ahead of everybody else, So I think I gave you just cricket's example there. You can apply that to music as well, In our lives, we were in our 20s, during when Dil Dil Pakistan happened. And once we saw the success of that, we analyzed that success. I analyzed, could you build a career out of music in Pakistan? Because there was no industry, there was no infrastructure, but single-mindedly, you can do a lot of things if you have a enthusiasm, talent, strategy, and a good team of people with you.
No doubt. I agree with you on that. Thank you so much, Salman. And I will pass the floor to Shehzad Dhedhi now. And he has got some rapid fire interesting questions for you. And I'll come back after he's done with that. And I hope you'll enjoy the rapid fire round.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shehzad.
Thank you, Azzah. As a brief introduction, my name is Shehzad Dhedhi. I am a fellow chartered accountant from Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan. And we have a club, a network of CFOs in Pakistan, which is called CFO Club. And this event is in collaboration with CFO Club and Southeast Asia, as well as Walnut towards Asia. So, right, we would start with the rapid fire, Salman. I am also a very big fan of yours. Actually, we grown up listening to your songs, first with the Wider Science and then Junoon. In rapid fire, we expect both the the speed of the response, but we need you to ignite some fire as well. So
Okay.
Are you ready for that?
I will try.
Thank you. I would like audience to respond or react in their Facebook and LinkedIn comments, as well as with some likes and thumbs up and hearts. So we would like to have the audience response on this rapid fire as well. So let's start. My first question to you, Salman, would be, what motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
3 things: love, life, and Junoon.
Great. What problem are you solving right now?
So the job that I have right now is to look at COVID-19 and mitigate the effects of COVID-19 in Pakistan and in South Asia. So that is the biggest problem I have on my plate at the moment.
Great. I would like to ask you, what is one of the biggest challenges you have faced throughout your life till date?
So the biggest challenges are those of failure, let's just talk about the music field, right? Initially with Dil Dil Pakistan and Vital Signs, success, but then I left Vital Signs and started Junoon, and it took 6 years, of trial and error. And people actually, when you're in the public eye, they make fun of you, So that's a big challenge, that when you're being publicly ridiculed for the type of work that you're doing, and you're considered to be a failure, how do you bounce back from that perception of failure?
With that, I would like to know what any exciting things happening now and in the next year. So that is the going forward approach.
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm working, aside from the COVID-19 work that I'm doing, I'm working on this film, Spiritual Democracy, which is a 4-part docu-series on Prime Minister Imran Khan. His challenges, his mindset, and how does he deal with failure and success, So that's one thing that I'm working on. And then also at the same time, now with the pandemic, being controlled, to Junoon World Tour in 2022.
Great. Normally, a leader is defined by what he reads, what he listens to. So I would like to ask you what you are reading or listening right now.
So one of the books that I'm rereading, I've read this book many times, but it's an incredible source of inspiration. It is a biography on Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, by Yahya Emmerich. He's a Westerner who's written this biography. It's an excellent biography. And a lot of the conversations we've had today about how to deal with failure, tactical success, all of that is in this. It's an amazing book. And what I'm listening to at the moment is a lot of Qawwali music, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan Sahab, because, the pandemic has been a very strange period. Like we've had to shelter at home. So Qawwali music provides a lot of peace, a lot of spiritual strength,
Normally, what do you do if you get some free time in your leisure time? What do you prefer to do?
I love spending time with my family. I have very few close friends. I keep in touch with them daily, but most of my time is spent practicing my guitar, songwriting.
Great. So suppose you have a dinner party and you can only invite 4 people from the entire world. So I would like to know who would be those 4 lucky people you would like to choose in your dinner party.
So one of them would definitely be my friend Jeff Skoll. He is an incredible social entrepreneur. He was the founder of eBay, right? And then he started his Skoll Foundation. Then he made a film company called Participant. And I've known him for the last 15 years. He's an incredible, out-of-the-box thinker. So I'd invite Jeff Skoll. Then I would invite Dr. Larry Brilliant, who by his last name is a brilliant epidemiologist. He helped to eradicate smallpox on the planet. And he too is an old friend of mine. I'd like to invite him. I definitely would like to invite my old friend, Prime Minister Imran Khan, because he's also out-of-the-box thinker. So Larry Brilliant, Jeff Skoll, Imran Khan, and last but not least, my wife, Dr. Samina, who's an incredible leader in her own right. She runs the Salman and Samina Global Wellness Initiative, and she does a lot of social work. We collaborate to do that. And she's a great out-of-the-box thinker. She's a health coach. She's on the board of Life Farm. So these 4 people, I think, would be a great dinner party.
I think the audience would like to know what would you discuss in that dinner party as well.
Yeah, so a lot of our discussions is about how to help the needy. How can we use our own experience to mitigate COVID-19, to mitigate poverty, to help girls' education. For example, like in a place like Pakistan, that's what we do. How to build health infrastructures so that the next time the pandemic comes, we are not caught with our pants down,
For one quick answer, just name one global leader who inspires you the most, who is living at this time. One global leader right now.
For me, I mean, look, I might be biased, but Prime Minister Imran Khan is that global leader who has shown through this COVID-19 pandemic and all the other crises that he's, the economic crisis, the security crisis, Afghanistan, that he's someone who does not give up. He is not daunted by failure or crisis and has a positive mindset. So he would be the one.
According to statistics, most of our population is young population, around 60 to 70%. If I include up to 30 years, so over 70% of the population is young. So what would you advise the young leaders at the moment? What do they consider for going forward we know about the digitalization and things like that?
So that's a great question. 70% means a huge youth bulge of energy. Now, either you can use that energy for positive gain, or you can, go towards a negative path. So 30 and below, if that's 70% of Pakistan, that's a huge youth bulge. That's over 110 million people, right? So if 110 million people use the passion that they have, and the fearlessness that youth brings, and work towards what they feel in their hearts, right? Again, I'll say follow your heart, try to imagine out of your mind what you can be. So what you will see over a period of time is the strengths that you have, which are your weaknesses, and out of those strengths and weaknesses, you can then chart your goals. The other thing I would add is, don't be boxed into one career. Like my mother said, just a doctor ban jaye. No, we are all multi-dimensional beings. We can do medicine, we can do music, we can do advocacy, we can do films. Ye sara kuch jo hai na, I mean, all of that we have as potential. You have to find out what is your true potential and then go for it.
Thank you. So nice of you. Amazing takeaways for me as well as for audience. And audience, I would request you to type in your comments with your feedback, as well as put some likes and hearts and any reaction you want. Thank you. I would like to hand over the mic to Azzah Atique.
Thank you, Shehzad.
Thank you so much, Shehzad bhai. Back to you, Salman. Thank you so much for being here, and wishing you all the best for your documentary. And it's very exciting. I got a chance to see it. Thank you very much. So I believe that the bigger audience will enjoy it as well, because there's a deeper message over there for everybody. Thank you so much, Salman, once again.
Well, thank you, Azzah, Humayun, Shehzad, Rizwan, and Sabah, I think. Sadaf?
Sadaf.
Thank you all for inviting me to this for this conversation.
Spirituality is the ability to go deep within us and finding out our true strengths. Is the belief to keep our egos, our thoughts, and our emotions away from the cause. Allama Iqbal calls it khudi. It's the concept of finding the positives in others before we see negatives in them. It's going within us and finding our negatives and finishing or eliminating them for a bigger cause. A leader is somebody who knows his weaknesses and strengths of other people, who builds other leaders, who builds nations. And that is the message in this documentary and in today's event. Thank you very much.